Are you a god?
No.
Then...
Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here with another video review for you. The game that I'm reviewing today is called Athlas, Duel for Divinity. This is a game where you take the role of some ultimately hugely powerful being, and you are fighting with another hugely powerful being. Not directly so much, but you are summoning and creating these warriors to fight on this battlefield. And, you know, this may sound like something you've played before. There's lots of games that are kind of like this, where you have units and you're fighting back and forth. It's a two-player game. The idea is that whoever wins this battle will become a god. So that is the reason why. It's pretty good quest, or pretty good reward, if you will. You know, and I've played many games like this, tactical games where you have all these different units that have all these different powers and abilities and what have you. And they're fun. I mean, I find them to be very enjoyable, mostly because it's always, like, it's really fun to see how well, you know, my dudes do against your dudes and what have you. But what really sets this game apart from other ones that I've played comes down to a really simple thing, and that's that each of these things, these creatures, these beings, these soldiers that you have are your creations. Now, yeah, okay, they're your creations. You're saying, okay, fine, whatever. But no, I mean, like, seriously, they're your creations. You get this big, huge deck of cards that has all these different powers and abilities. And before the game begins, you and your opponent will go through these decks of cards that you have, and you will create the things that you're going to be using during this skirmish, this battle for divinity, if you will. And those are like the only units you get to use. You get to make 4 distinct little units, and you set up these little cards, and you put a stack out, and then you take one of these cool miniatures that represent your dude, and you put that kind of like on the card, so you know which ones are those, and you can summon multiple ones, if you will. And then the game begins, and you start summoning these creatures that you've made. And the thing is that, so you created, like, you know, maybe like a mage or an archer or like a flying dragon type of thing, and you know, and then they show you what they made, and now all of a sudden you and your opponent get to try to figure out which one of my units is going to be powerful versus the other person, and which one, you know, do I need to focus on as far as, you know, getting this and that and so forth. And the game isn't about actually killing each other. You're going to be killing each other, or your units are going to be killing each other, but the game is about collecting relics. There's 3 relics on the board, and you have to get 2 of them to win the game. And as soon as you claim 2, you win the game immediately. So I'm going to show you how to play the game. I'm not going to go super in depth, because the game itself is actually pretty simple. I mean, it's a lot of the whole you go, I go battle and tactics that if you've played games of that type, you know what I'm talking about. But I will delve into, I'm going to show you some of the cards and everything, because also I should mention that there are like a deck of spell cards that each person, being that you're this big, giant, powerful dude or dudette, that you have access to as well, that you can use to directly influence the board as well. So let me show you like how the core elements of Athlas works, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about the game, and I'll tell you why I dig it, and then hopefully somewhere along this whole path you'll figure out something about the game that interests you, and you can go check out the game and see if it's something you want to own. So, alright, here we go. Athlas, Duel for Divinity. Alright, this is the game board for Athlas, the Battle for Divinity. Just briefly going over what you see here. This is obviously the board which you're going to be placing these units on. This row and this row are the summoning locations for each player. So like the silver player over here summons, and when they summon their people, they will go in these locations here, and then over here the gold will be summoned in those locations over there. You can see here, these are the 3 relics that you have to collect. Once one player owns 2 relics, the game immediately ends and they win the game. There is a possibility for a draw because of the fact that with terrain and things like that, you can actually trap people or make it so units can't move. Also, you can make flying units that have a constant flying ability. They can't collect the relics. They're very mobile. They can get around the board quicker than the other ones, but they can't. All they can do basically is fight. They can't and attack the other units. They can't collect the relics and actually win. So if something happens where both players only have flying creatures left, nobody can win. So then there's a draw, and you have to play again to see who wins. So when the game begins, there are a couple things you have to do. The first thing you have to do is pick a side or whatever. You have to determine how many points total in summoning you're going to allow. The game suggests for like a normal game you use 250 total points of summoning power. And you can play with as much as you want. They don't suggest that you go any higher than 500. But so the way it works is you can see that each person has a little bar here, and it starts off, the 3 markers are all on 0. So like when you summon, say, something that costs 42, you would move this up to 40 and this up to 2. And so then that's 42. And so then next time when you summon like another one, you go up to 84 and so forth. And like that's after you get to 84, let's say you summon something that costs 30, and so that would 114. Look at that, I can add. And so as that goes, and of course once you hit the max of 250, or you don't have anything, like say you get to like 242 total summoned energy, you don't have anything that costs 8, so then you can't summon anymore. But then that's just like the limitation, and something that you have to take into effect when you're choosing what type of creatures you want to have to fight with. So after you determine who's going to play which side and what your total summoning energy is going to be, what each player will take, and they have these decks, and they are going to create the creatures that they're going to, or units, or soldiers, or beings, or whatever you want to call them, that they're going to use to fight with. And so the first thing you have to do, and there's several different types of cards. I'm just going to kind of run through this here. There's genus cards, and you can only have one of these in each one. They have this little symbol down here. And what these are is obviously like they're the like iconic base of the units, like a Shadow Ranger, Savage Warrior, Undead Horde. So pretty iconic, things like that. And so you begin with this base, and then you build off of that base. And so so like let's go with like a Savage Warrior. So this is like going to be one of your theoretically like your big melee unit. You can see it gets a bonus of +1 to melee. It's got 12 health, and the base cost is 10. You can see right there. These 2 little green hands, that means that he has 2 hands that he can use to hold things. And I'll show that to you in just a quick little bit. So we're going to start off with the Savage Warrior. So we're going to have to give him, so what he's going to obviously need, he's going to need some armor, and he's going to need some power. Now I'm going to show you one thing. You'll notice that there's no icon right here, meaning that he doesn't have the ability to cast spells, if you will. Now let me just show you somebody else that it would have somebody cast spells. Like here we have like a Shadow Ranger, has a 5 down there, so we could add 5 points of spells to him. The Spellbinder, as you can see, has 50 points of spells. So but we're making a big warrior here, so we're not going to worry about the spells. We just want to worry about something that gives lots of brute force. Now here we have these cards, and like they have all these different symbols in the bottom, and you can see that these down here with these little anvil, you can guess that's items, and then you can see here that's magic. Well, this guy's not going to be able to cast magic. You can actually, I should mention that, like we'll put these spells down here just for a second. You can surprisingly enough, like you can give certain items to your your units or whatever that'll actually allow them, give them some ability to cast spells. Like if there's a magic staff in here, of course I'm not going to have it handy to show you, but yeah, here you go, magic staff. So we could theoretically give him a magic staff, and then he'd have 10 magic points to cast some spells with. And you notice that these 2 little red hands over here? Well, obviously that means that uses up his 2 green hands. One of the things that you have to make sure that when you're building your creature is that you can't ever have more red hands on your items, in all your cards, than you do have green hands in your cards. And so here we go. Now these are like abilities that just kind of add to something. So like here, the Battle Frenzy. Notice it adds +2 to melee. So this is probably a really good card. And notice it costs an extra 5. We're going to add that. But you know what? We're going to give him, notice that they actually kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to give him Battle Frenzy to give him that extra ability. And then we don't really, you can, as you can see, like give Mountaineering, because normally it takes, if you're non-flying, normally it takes both your action and your movement to be able to climb onto hills. But, you know, we're not going to give him that, because we don't want to make a super expensive being. But, you know, maybe we can give it an extra hand. We give us an extra little green hand. It's only 2, so let's give him an extra hand. So now we have Battle Frenzy, we have 10 plus 5 plus 2, so we're at 17 for that guy. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to go through each and every one that I'm going to build right now, but I just want to let you see how this works. So, now we need a weapon. We need some sort of a thing that he can use to beat the heck out of the people that are next to him. So, we could, you know, load him up with like lots of different weapons, but I think there's a big axe in here. Yeah, there's a Chaos Blade, Paralyzing Venom. Oh, wait a minute. Here, we'll give him a Crystal Shield, because that's 1 hand. Remember, we got 3. That's got a 4 there. But you can see it's going to give us 1 Magical Armor and 1 Normal Armor, which is pretty good. And yeah, here we go. The Axe of Lorios. It's 2-handed, but look, 8. So this guy is just going to be a clubber. And so we're going to, you can attack with that. That's a 12, but okay, fine. This is just going to be our super expensive guy. And then let's go ahead and get him a suit of full plate armor, like so. And then another 2 armor there. And so, like, that's 5. So there we've made our big giant bruiser. We've given him, we start off with a Savage Warrior, you know, costing 10. We gave him the Battle Frenzy, gives us another +2 to his combat, you know, so he's going to have a +3 to his melee, so that's 15. We give him full plate armor, that's 30. We give him an axe, that's 42. We give him a Celestial Shield, 46, and we gave him an extra hand, so 48. And so he's huge, he's tough, and he's going to cost us 48 a time. But you know, our opponent's going to be hard pressed to want to have anything to do with this guy when he's next to it. Now, when we build him, we don't show right away what he is because we don't want our opponent to know what we're building. We want to keep it kind of secret and kind of to ourselves, because we don't want them to know. But we do have to, once we create the guy, we have to kind of put these 2 little figures on here like so to show that he costs 48. And so we'll go ahead. We don't show that, of course, but we have to have that handy. And so that would be like one of the 4 guys that we would have. And so then our opponent's busy making them. Now, the other thing, after you decide which 4 creatures you're going to have, you have these cards. These are like Divine Intervention cards. And you get to pick 4 of these with a total value of 8. And so you can go through, oh, that actually goes in this deck, but you go through these, and these are basically like little powers, like, you know, you turn any 4 connected hexes into water hexes, you know, flood, you know, so you can actually drown people, if you will. You know, Rotting Plague, Shift Relic, Shadow Clone, you know, all these are different little powers and abilities that you can have, that you can use to affect. Something as simple as just, you know, shooting somebody with lightning, to, like, you know, a gate that can move people around, or a magic flux, nobody can cast magic spells, and things like that. The trick with these are you get to pick 4 of them, I'm sorry, you get to pick up to like 8 total, and the number that it costs is down here. So that's 2, you know. So most of them are around 2 or 1. There's 1, 3 there, things like that. But you have to place these. You take the 4. I'm just going to grab 4 cards at random. I'm not going to like actually go through and pick them. But when you put them down, you have to make sure that you put them down in the order that you think you're going to be using them. So you kind of look at them, you figure out which one I'm going to use that for this one, I'm going to use that for this one, and then you go ahead and then you put them down like so. And then you have to actually use them in the order that you draw them. So it's a very important aspect. So after all is said and done, both of you have set up the way your units are going to be built and what they're going to look like and their powers and what have you. The first thing you do is you have to, on your turn, the very first turn of the game, you can either summon 1 unit of any cost, or you can summon up to 3 smaller units with a cost up to 60. And so we're just going to, like, if we're going to discard, we're just going to summon the 1 unit. And what you have to do then is you have to reveal it, and you have to give it to the other person so they get to read through each of these cards and read through what they have. And one of the first things that they do is they have to make sure that it is legal. Like, you didn't screw anything up. You total it up, the total points. Total points it costs to summon it correctly. Did you make sure that you didn't use up too many hands? Like you have too many red hands compared to the green hands in your creature, and so on and so forth. And so then you just go ahead and you then place the figure that represents it on the board, and then the other player does the same thing. And so maybe we put the 1 big unit, and maybe he just has 3 smaller units that he created, like so. And that's the first turn. Everybody summons it. They move up. So like this would be 48, like we said. Sorry, 48, like we said, and then his was whatever, like 40, 60 or whatever. And so, and then now we have our starting units, and then we can actually begin the game. And on your turn, what you will do is that each person will activate their unit. And then so you activate, you do any upkeep, because sometimes there'll be spells and abilities that have prolonged effects. Sometimes like certain spells will have an effect on a creature or a unit, and so you put one of these like rings around them to represent that, and then you place that around them, and then after that's gone, you take that off. And then after your upkeep is done, then you start doing your, I'm going to activate this unit, and you get to move, and you get to take an action, and then you get to activate another one of your units. And then so once you've done that for all your units, then your opponent does the same and does that for him. You can't, like, if there was more units out here like this, you couldn't, like, I'm going to move him, and then I'm going to attack with him, and then I'm going to attack with him. You have to do everything for the one thing that you're moving and activating all at once. You can't, tie them together, if you will. So, and that's pretty soon. So eventually what's going to happen, obviously, and after you've done after you've gone and you've done everything, then you can do another summon. You can summon 1 more creature after you've activated. So you move him, so on and so forth. Maybe this guy got here and he's picked up the relic, so you're holding on to that. And so after you're all done, you can then summon another creature. And so as long as you have enough points left, you can pick one of your creatures and summon him. And then your opponent does the same, and then that's when they start getting close to each other. And if they have ranged combat, they can shoot and so forth. And then they can cast their spells, they can use their abilities, and that's where the combat starts occurring. And that's when people start dying, and the war is waged. Now, combat is ridiculously simple. You just take the total effect, or the total of what, if you're using melee or range, you just add it all up in one thing. So like you can see Savage Warrior, he's got 1 for that, remember, and then he's got an 8 for the axe, so that's a 9, and Battle Frenzy, so he's got an 11 attack total. And so if he gets close to one, so like let's say we have this guy and he's like right next to this archer dude, we say, boom, I'm attacking you with an 11 attack. Then that person says, okay, I've got, like, they look on their character, and I don't have those cards, obviously, but you look and he sees, oh, I got 2 armor. Okay, well, then I do 9 points of damage to you, because you take 2 down from the 11, and, and then that's 9 total. Now, most of these guys have, around 10 health. Like, remember, the Savage Warrior has 12. Like, the Archers have 10. Let me find that Archer card. And, like, a lot of these cards are, like, the base, so there you can see it's like, the Archer has 10. So I've done that points of damage to him. But, like, so maybe then my Mage goes and he attacks him with a range to combat, and, he does, like, 6 damage to him or something like that. The nice thing is that his armor doesn't replenish. So if I attack him immediately again, you would do that damage to him, and then you'd knock him out and take him down. And so then the person takes him, removes him from the game board, and and then maybe they can summon another one on the next turn. But that's how combat works. But it's much more tactical and much more strategic than that, because you are trying to get, because you never want to leave something halfway damaged. Mostly because no unit really truly has a hit points of their own. They kind of have just a life pool. So what that means is that after you've created your creature, you will use these blue tokens to determine like how much health it has. And so like we didn't really do anything to add any health points to the warrior. So like I'm just trying to find a 2, of course, and I can't find one. But so you put tokens on it like so. Let's just do this here: 5 and a 5 and a 1 and a 1, like that. And so we know that not the Shadow Ranger, but the Savage Warrior that we created has a 12 health. And so when the 12 health gets attacked, you reduce that, and you don't really have to actually take these tokens off. You just say he's got 12 health. And if they do enough, they do a total of 12, then it's gone, but then the health of that alpha, that creation, goes back up to 12. And so when you attack another one, then the hit points, if there happen to be 2 on the field, like these 2 warriors, when you attack the other one, they again have 12 health. But if you don't actually so you can actually kill off, you can do damage to this one over here and get it down to maybe 5, and then you could attack this one over here, but he's actually got 5 health at that point, if that makes sense to you, because they kind of share a life pool. And so you would attack this one, knock him down, then attack this one over here, and actually take this one out. And so the timing of the attacks actually matters, depending on where you're trying to go. Sometimes you'll get an area effect spell that will affect a lot of different creatures at the same time, and if that happens, meaning that if you have more than one creature that are close that have the same alpha, you get to pick which one is taken out. Even though they both took the damage at the exact same time, you get to pick which one. You don't lose them both. But there you go. So that's basically how the game goes. I mean, you get to move 1. If you fly, you get to move 2. If you try to get, if you're next to terrain, like these hills, it actually takes your action. Instead of being able to attack, it takes your action, or cast a spell, it actually takes an action to move up. Once you're on the hill, you can move amongst the hills because you're at the same level. But to climb down or climb up, it uses up your action instead of just your movement as well. And water, unless you're an aquatic creature, water will kill you. It'll drown you. You take 5 points of damage immediately upon being in water. And sometimes you can cast spells and knock people into water, and to have the terrain affect them. And if you fall off a hill into a cliff or whatever, same deal. There is the ability to make what's called craters, which just look like this, through spells and effects. A crater next to a hill forms a cliff that you can't get past. So that's kind of one of those things as well. And also hills, if you're on a hill and you're attacking something below you, you actually get a bonus to your attack as well. Not a flying creature, obviously, but you get a bonus of +2 when you do that attack, just because you're up higher. It gives you that terrain bonus, if you will. But, I mean, the rules themselves are really simple. What makes the game a lot of fun, and what keeps you guessing and keeps everything flowing, is when you're building up these characters, you're building up these creatures that you have nearly limitless ideas that you can kind of throw together, and then seeing what your opponent comes up with, and then seeing who made the best one. And so, I mean, and that's where the game shines, where the game turns into a lot of fun. But let me tell you more about that in my conclusion, which I will do right now. Alright, so there you go. Athlas, Duel for Divinity. You should have a pretty good idea of how to play the game. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on while you play the game. I mean, you saw those opening terrain tiles that are on there. As the game progresses, there's certain other abilities and powers and things that you can do that actually change the terrain and actually alter it. And so there's other things like that that go on that you're going to be monkeying with it and changing stuff and whatever. And so that's something to keep in mind as well, as far as the gameplay. I really like, one of the things I like about it is that there's really no randomness to it. The game itself is very deterministic as far as the combat goes. I mean, if I move my unit and you're within my range, I just get to attack you, you know, and then we figure out how much damage and if it's enough to take you out, that sort of thing. I also like the fact that because each of your like your alpha, as it's called, your creation, they kind of share a life pool, and I mean, it isn't like you put everybody's life into one big bowl, but you know, it's like when you attack it, it isn't like you have to keep track of each individual little health point, you know, and you know, have a bunch of markers out on the board or whatever, you know, to like, you know, kind of like, okay, did that guy take 3 damage or 4 damage? Oh, okay, I knocked over that stack. Yeah, I like the fact that you kind of remove that aspect from it. And I enjoy that about the game, just because it reduces that level of fiddliness that you normally have in a game like this. Ultimately, what makes the game fun? Creating the dudes, you know, and creating your things and seeing what kind of crazy combination you can come up with. It reminded me of a couple of things in my youth, actually. It reminded me of when I played the game Battletech. And we would say, okay, we get 300 tons worth of mechs, and each of us would go off and you'd make mechs. And so you'd say, oh, do I make 3 100-ton mechs, or do I make, you know, 2 50-ton, a 75-ton? So, you know, and so you'd kind of like mix and match, and you'd use up that like available tonnage, you know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just I apologize. But it also reminded me a lot of an old computer game that I played on my Commodore 64 called Mail Order Monsters, where you got this monster, and like you would send it off to fight, and then when it won, you'd get powers and abilities or whatever. And then you'd like could take it back and you'd alter it and you'd change it up and you do something different with it. And so I like games where I can build something. I like games where I can have some hand in the creationary process of what I do. And this game does that for me. And I like trying to outwit and then I really like seeing what my opponent can come up with. And then I like seeing who made the best dudes. You know, who made the best soldiers for their futuristic army, if you will. You know, and I mean, like I said, I've played lots of games of this type, but it seems like when I play games like this, you know, it's always like, well, here's your rifleman, and here's your, you know, here's your laser corpsman, and here's your wizards, and everything's the same, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, so there's nothing really to it. I mean, yeah, okay, the stats and everything, but here now I can actually I can get my hands dirty, you know, and I can have a lot of fun. And then of course, you know, ramps up the replayability, it ramps up the what the game offers you. And also, I mean, obviously, I could see them being able to add a ton of new stuff as far as with expansions and what have you. I mean, new cards, new powers, new abilities, things like that. And so I'm really excited to see where they take the game. Plus, you know, these miniatures look really awesome. I mean, obviously, these are not like the ending miniatures. These are like made from like a 3D printer. But I'm sure that the ultimate end look of the thing, if you go to the page, the Kickstarter page for the game, you definitely can see those and check those out. They look pretty awesome. So there you go. I mean, what people are going to like this game? You're going to like people that like two-player games, that like two-player combat and tactical games without any randomness. There's no dice in the game. The combat is just like, I'm within range, I hit you. You know, I mean, so you know, do you like, I mean, it's, you know, in a weird way, you know, it's some weird kind of chess variant, I guess. I don't really like saying that because this has nothing to do with chess, but I mean, it has its roots in that basic, here's the grid you're on, here's your different units can move differently and attack differently. So it has that route. So if you like that sort of aspect, you like that fantasy theme, and like I said, you like having the ability to, like, you create something, I think this game's really going to appeal to you. So go ahead, check it out, see if it's something you want to get. If you have any questions about the game, please let me know. I'll love to answer those and tell you exactly what I think more, if you like whatever you ask. And I'm sure that Alad, the publisher for Golden Egg Games, will be more than happy to chime in as well and let you know if you have any questions about the game or the project or anything like that as well. So, as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I greatly appreciate that. And until next time, this was Undead Viking. You have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.